The woman's eyes opened to a sky so vast and blue it hurt to look at. And she had no idea who she was or how she'd gotten there in the middle of the California wilderness with blood dried on her temple and her dress torn to shreds. She lay in a shallow ravine somewhere between rocky outcrops and scrubby brush, the sun beating down mercilessly on her exposed skin. Every muscle in her body ached as she pushed herself up to sitting, her head spinning with the effort. She touched the side of her face gingerly and felt the crusty evidence of an injury, though she couldn't remember receiving it. More troubling than the pain was the absolute emptiness in her mind when she tried to recall anything at all, about who she was or where she'd come from. Her hands were scratched and dirty, her fingernails broken. The dress she wore had once been a nice calico print, she could tell that much, but now it was barely holding together. She had no shoes. Looking around the ravine, she saw no sign of a horse, no bag, no belongings of any kind. Just herself, alone with nothing but questions and the clothes on her back. She tried to stand and immediately her legs wobbled beneath her. How long had she been lying here? A day? More. Her throat was parched, her lips cracked. Water. She needed water or she'd die out here, whoever she was. The thought galvanized her into action despite her weakness. She couldn't just sit here and wait for death. Using the rocky wall of the ravine for support, she managed to pull herself upright and take a few stumbling steps. The landscape around her was unfamiliar, dotted with oak trees and dry grass, hills rising in the distance. California, her mind supplied, though she didn't know how she knew that. The year was 1878, another fact that floated up from somewhere deep in her consciousness, even as her own name remained frustratingly out of reach. She walked for what felt like hours, the sun climbing higher and beating down without mercy. Her vision started to blur at the edges, black spots dancing across her sight. Just when she thought she might collapse and never get up again, she heard something that made her heart leap. The sound of hoofbeats. The rider came around a bend in the trail she'd somehow found, a tall man on a sturdy bay horse. He wore a wide-brimmed hat pulled low against the sun, a vest over a work shirt, and had the weathered look of someone who spent his life outdoors. When he spotted her, he immediately pulled his horse to a stop. "Good God," he said, swinging down from the saddle with practiced ease. "Madam, are you all right?" She tried to answer, but her throat was too dry. All that came out was a croak. She swayed on her feet, and the man quickly closed the distance between them, steadying her with a strong hand on her arm. "Easy now," he said, his voice gentle despite his rough appearance. "I've got you." He guided her to sit on a nearby rock and pulled a canteen from his saddle, uncapping it and holding it to her lips. "Slow sips now. Not too much at once." The water was the most wonderful thing she'd ever tasted, or at least that she could remember tasting. She wanted to gulp it down, but he was right to make her go slow, pulling the canteen back after a few swallows. "What happened to you?" he asked, crouching down so he was at her eye level. His eyes were a striking green, she noticed, set in a face that was handsome in a rugged sort of way. He looked to be in his mid-20s, maybe a year or two older than she was, though she had no idea how she knew her approximate age when she couldn't remember her name. "I don't know," she managed to say, her voice still raspy. "I woke up in a ravine. I can't remember anything." His brow furrowed with concern. "You can't remember what happened, or you can't remember anything at all." "Anything at all," she said, and felt panic rising in her chest as she said it out loud. "I don't know my name. I don't know where I came from or how I got here. There's just nothing." He studied her face for a long moment, taking in the dried blood on her temple, the scratches and bruises visible on her arms. "You took a nasty hit to the head by the looks of it. Could be that's what's causing the memory trouble. Sometimes it comes back after a while. And if it doesn't? She asked, unable to keep the fear from her voice. Then we'll figure it out, he said with a certainty that made her want to believe him. Right now, let's focus on getting you somewhere safe. Can you ride? She looked at the horse and honestly wasn't sure. I think so. Good enough. He helped her to her feet and over to his horse, then swung up into the saddle and reached down to pull her up behind him. She settled against his back, wrapping her arms around his waist to keep herself steady. It felt natural, as if she'd ridden this way before, though whether that was true or not she couldn't say. Name's Vincent Erikson, he said as he urged the horse forward at a gentle walk. I've got a ranch about 5 miles from here. We'll get you cleaned up and fed, and then we can figure out what to do next. Thank you, she said softly. I'm sorry I can't tell you my name. Don't apologize for something that's not your fault, he replied. We all need help sometimes. They rode in silence for a while, the horse's steady gait almost hypnotic. She found herself studying the back of Vincent's head, the way his dark hair curled slightly at his collar, the breadth of his shoulders. He smelled like leather and horses and something else she couldn't quite identify, something that made her feel oddly safe despite her circumstances. You remember anything at all? He asked after a while. Even small things, she thought about it. I know it's 1878. I know we're in California. I know how to ride a horse, apparently, but personal things. No, it's like there's a wall in my mind and I can't see past it. Could be your mind's protecting you from something, Vincent said thoughtfully. Sometimes that happens when people go through something real traumatic. The thought sent a chill down her spine despite the heat. What could have happened to her that was so terrible her mind had blocked it all out? And if her memory did come back, would she want to know? Vincent's ranch came into view as they crested a hill, a modest spread with a house, barn, and several outbuildings. Cattle grazed in fenced pastures, and she could see a couple of horses in a corral. It looked well maintained, the kind of place someone had put real work into building. It's not much, Vincent said, but it's home. It looks wonderful, she said honestly. He rode right up to the house and dismounted, then helped her down. Her legs were still shaky and she stumbled against him. He steadied her easily, his hands warm and solid on her waist. Let's get you inside, he said. The interior of the house was simple but clean, with handmade furniture and colorful rugs on the wooden floor. Vincent led her to a chair at the kitchen table, and she sank into it gratefully while he pumped water into a basin. I'm going to clean that cut on your head, he said, bringing the basin over along with some clean cloths. It might sting some. She nodded, bracing herself. He worked with surprising gentleness, carefully washing away the dried blood and examining the wound beneath. His touch was clinical but somehow comforting at the same time. It's not as bad as it could be, he said. Probably bled a lot when it happened. Head wounds do that, but it's already starting to heal. You've got a good-sized lump, though. That's what's likely causing the memory trouble. How do you know so much about injuries? She asked. Spent time as a field medic during the last years of the war, he said. Saw plenty of head wounds. Most folks got their memories back eventually, though it sometimes took a while. The war. He meant the Civil War, she realized. That had ended 13 years ago, which meant he must have been young when he served. Maybe even lied about his age to enlist. She wanted to ask more, but he was already moving away, going to a trunk in the corner of the room. These were my mother's, he said, pulling out a simple dress and some undergarments. She passed 2 years ago. You're about her size, I think. You can't keep wearing that torn-up thing you've got on. I'm so sorry about your mother, she said softly. He gave her a small, sad smile. She lived a good life. Died peaceful in her sleep, which is more than a lot of folks get. Anyway, there's a room through that door where you can change and rest. I'll fix us something to eat." The room he'd indicated was small but tidy, with a narrow bed covered in a quilt and a washstand in the corner. She closed the door and leaned against it for a moment, overwhelmed by everything that had happened. This morning, if it had even been this morning, she'd woken up with no idea who she was. Now she was in a stranger's house, about to put on his dead mother's clothes, dependent on his kindness for her very survival. She stripped off the ruined dress and washed herself as best she could with the water from the washstand, then put on the clothes Vincent had given her. They fit reasonably well, maybe a little loose but nothing too bad. She caught a glimpse of herself in the small mirror above the washstand and studied her own face like it belonged to a stranger. Blue eyes, brown hair that was tangled and dirty, skin tanned from sun exposure. She looked to be somewhere in her early 20s, but that was all she could determine. When she emerged from the room, Vincent had food on the table. Bread, cheese, some cold meat, and what looked like canned peaches. Her stomach growled loudly at the sight of it, and he laughed. "Sit down and eat," he said. "You must be half-starved." She was. She tried to eat slowly and maintain some dignity, but it was hard when her body was screaming for sustenance. Vincent ate as well, watching her with those observant green eyes. "We should probably give you a name," he said after a while. "Can't keep calling you madam all the time." "I hadn't thought of that," she admitted. "I keep hoping my real name will just come back to me." "It might," he said. "But in the meantime, you need something to answer to. Any ideas?" She thought about it. What name felt right? She had no idea. Maybe something simple. How about Anna? He suggested. "Anna Simmons. Simple enough, and if anyone asks, you're a distant cousin of mine come to help out around the ranch." Anna. She rolled the name around in her mind, testing how it felt. It was as good as anything else, she supposed. "All right, Anna Simmons it is." "Anna it is then," Vincent said, and smiled at her. It transformed his whole face, making him look younger and less careworn. "Welcome to the ranch, Miss Anna." Over the next few days, Anna settled into an odd sort of routine at Vincent's ranch. She helped where she could, though she had to learn as she went since she didn't know what skills she might have had before. Vincent was endlessly patient, showing her how to collect eggs from the chickens, how to work the butter churn, how to mend fences and tend the vegetable garden behind the house. She discovered she was good with the horses, which suggested she'd spent time around them before. She could ride well once she got over the initial nervousness, and the animals seemed to respond well to her touch. Vincent noticed and started letting her help with the training of a young mare he'd been working with. "You've got a natural way with them," he observed one afternoon as she stroked the mare's nose, speaking softly to the animal. "Must have worked with horses before you lost your memory." "Maybe," Anna said. "It feels familiar, but I can't pin down any specific memories." Her memory remained frustratingly blank, no matter how hard she tried to push through the wall in her mind. She could remember things she learned now just fine, but everything before waking up in that ravine was simply gone. Vincent assured her repeatedly that it might just take time, that pushing too hard could make things worse. As the days turned into weeks, Anna found herself growing comfortable in her new life, strange as that seemed. Vincent was easy to be around, with a dry sense of humor and a kindness that seemed fundamental to who he was. He never made her feel like a burden, never treated her as anything less than an equal despite the fact that she'd appeared in his life with nothing and remembered nothing. She began to notice other things about him too. The way he whistled while he worked, always the same few tunes. The way he pushed his hair back from his forehead when he was thinking hard about something. The strength in his hands and arms from years of ranch work. The rare, brilliant smile that could light up his whole face when something genuinely amused him. One evening, about a month after he'd found her, they sat on the porch watching the sunset paint the California hills in shades of gold and orange. Vincent had his guitar out, something he did most evenings, playing simple melodies that were pretty even if he claimed he wasn't any good. "Do you ever regret it?" Anna asked suddenly. "Taking me in like you did? Your life would be simpler without a strange woman with no memory living in your house." Vincent stopped playing and looked at her with surprise. "Regret it? Not for a second. But I've complicated things for you," she pressed. "And I can't even tell you who I really am or where I came from. For all you know, I could be some kind of criminal." "You're not a criminal," Vincent said with complete certainty. "How do you know?" "Because I know people," he said simply. "I've known genuinely bad folks in my time, and you're not one of them. Whatever happened to you before, whatever your story is, I don't believe for a second that you're anyone dangerous or bad." "That's a lot of faith to put in a stranger," Anna said softly. "Maybe," Vincent acknowledged. "But here's what I think. I think you were in some kind of trouble and got hurt trying to get away from it. I think someone out there is probably looking for you, wondering what happened. And I think that until we know more, you're safer here with me than you would be out there alone." Anna felt warmth spread through her chest at his words. "Thank you, Vincent, for everything. I don't know how I'll ever repay you." "Don't need repaying," he said, picking up his guitar again. "Just seeing you get better, seeing you smile sometimes, that's enough for me." She watched his profile as he started playing again, and felt something shift inside her. It wasn't gratitude exactly, though she felt plenty of that. It was something deeper, something that made her heart beat faster when he looked at her, something that made her hyper-aware of his presence whenever he was near. "Oh no," she thought. "I'm falling for him." The realization was both thrilling and terrifying. How could she let herself fall for someone when she didn't even know who she was? What if her memory came back and she discovered she was married, or engaged, or had a whole other life waiting for her somewhere? What if she broke Vincent's heart or her own by letting this feeling grow? But the heart, Anna was discovering, didn't much care about logic. Summer deepened into full heat, the California sun beating down relentlessly on the ranch. Anna worked alongside Vincent through the long days, learning more about ranching than she'd ever imagined there was to know. They worked on expanding one of the pastures, which meant long hours of hard physical labor setting fence posts and stringing wire. "Tell me about your family," Anna said one afternoon as they worked. She knew Vincent's mother had passed, but he rarely spoke about his past otherwise. Vincent was quiet for a moment, concentrating on the post he was tamping into place. "Not much to tell, really. My father died when I was 15, thrown from a horse, broke his neck. After that, it was just me and my mother working this place. We made it work, built it up pretty good. Then 2 years ago, like I said, she passed in her sleep. Heart just gave out. Since then, it's been just me." "That must be lonely," Anna said softly. "It was," Vincent admitted, glancing at her. "Less so now." Their eyes met and held for a long moment, something electric passing between them. Anna felt her breath catch in her throat. Vincent looked like he wanted to say something more, but then he seemed to think better of it and went back to work. They didn't talk about it, but something had shifted between them. Anna caught Vincent watching her sometimes when he thought she wasn't looking, his expression unguarded and full of something that made her pulse race. She wondered if he could see the same thing in her face when she looked at him. It came to a head one evening in late July. They'd been working on repairing the barn roof, a job that had taken several days. They'd finally finished just as the sun was setting, and Vincent climbed down the ladder looking satisfied with their work. Anna was already on the ground, and when he reached the bottom, she impulsively threw her arms around him in a celebratory hug. "We did it," she exclaimed. "The roof is fixed." Vincent laughed and hugged her back, lifting her right off her feet and spinning her around. When he set her down, they were suddenly very close, his hands still on her waist, her hands on his shoulders. The laughter faded as they looked at each other, and Anna's heart started pounding so hard she was sure he must be able to hear it. "Anna," Vincent said, his voice low and rough. "I need to tell you something." "What?" she whispered. "I'm falling for you," he said. "I know I shouldn't, I know the timing is all wrong and you've got enough to deal with without me adding complications, but I can't help it. These past couple months, having you here, getting to know you, it's been the best time I've had in years. You make me happy in a way I didn't think I could be anymore." Anna felt tears spring to her eyes. "Vincent, I feel the same way. I've been trying not to because it seems so complicated, but I can't help it either. When I'm with you, I feel safe and happy and like maybe everything is going to be all right even though I don't know who I am." "You're Anna," Vincent said firmly. "That's who you are now. Maybe someday your memory will come back and you'll remember your old life, but right now you're Anna. And I'm falling in love with Anna." "I'm falling in love with you too," she admitted, the words coming out in a rush. "I don't want to hurt you if my memory comes back and changes everything, but I can't deny what I feel." "Then don't," Vincent said and kissed her. It was gentle at first, tentative, as if he was afraid she might pull away. But Anna leaned into it, her hands sliding up to tangle in his hair, and the kiss deepened into something that made her whole body feel like it was on fire. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Vincent rested his forehead against hers. "We'll figure it out," he said. "Whatever happens, we'll figure it out together." All right," Anna agreed and kissed him again. From that night on, everything changed between them. They were courting now, officially and openly, even though there was no one around to see it but themselves. Vincent held her hand as they walked around the ranch, stole kisses when they passed each other during chores, sat close to her on the porch in the evenings with his arm around her shoulders. Anna had never been so happy as far as she could remember. Which, admittedly, wasn't very far, but still. She felt like she was glowing from the inside out, like every day was brighter because Vincent was in it. He made her laugh with his stories and his dry observations about ranch life. He made her feel capable and strong when he trusted her with important tasks. He made her feel beautiful when he looked at her like she was the most precious thing in the world. But underneath the happiness, there was always a thread of worry. What if her memory came back and revealed something that would tear them apart? What if she had a family somewhere wondering what had happened to her? What if she was supposed to be someone else, living some other life? The questions haunted her quiet moments, but she tried not to let them overshadow the joy she'd found with Vincent. They'd agreed to take things as they came, to deal with problems if and when they arose rather than borrowing trouble from an uncertain future. In August, they rode into Willits, California together for the first time. It was the nearest town, about 8 miles from the ranch, and Vincent needed supplies. Anna was nervous about going, worried that someone might recognize her, but Vincent pointed out that if someone did recognize her, that might not be a bad thing. It could be the key to unlocking her past. Willits was a small but bustling town, with a main street lined with shops and businesses. There was a general store, a saloon, a hotel, a blacksmith, and various other establishments that served the ranchers and farmers in the surrounding area. People called out greetings to Vincent as they rode in, clearly knowing him, and looked at Anna with open curiosity. "Who's that with you, Vincent?" asked the proprietor of the general store, a portly man named Mr. Henderson. "This is Anna, my cousin from back east," Vincent said smoothly, using the cover story they'd agreed on. "She's come to help out at the ranch for a spell." "Cousin, eh?" Mr. Henderson looked skeptical but didn't push it. "Well, welcome to Willits, Miss Anna. Let me know if you need anything." They spent an hour in town, getting supplies and introducing Anna to various townspeople. No one showed any sign of recognizing her, which was both a relief and a disappointment. On one hand, it meant she didn't have to worry about her past catching up with her today. On the other, it meant she was no closer to knowing who she really was. As they were loading their purchases onto the wagon, a woman approached them. She was probably in her 40s, well-dressed and carrying herself with an air of authority. "Vincent Erikson," she said warmly. "It's been too long." "How are you?" "I'm well, Mrs. Fletcher," Vincent replied, tipping his hat. "How's your husband?" "Ornery as ever," Mrs. Fletcher said with a laugh, then turned her attention to Anna. "And who is this lovely young lady, my cousin Anna, visiting from back east?" Vincent repeated. "Mrs. Fletcher's eyebrows rose slightly. "Cousin Hum? Well, I hope you'll both come to the church social next month. It's been ages since Vincent has attended any social functions, and I'm sure the young ladies of the town would love to meet you, Anna." "We'll think about it," Vincent said diplomatically. As they rode back to the ranch, Anna was quiet, thinking about the church social and Mrs. Fletcher's knowing look when Vincent called her his cousin. "She didn't believe you," Anna said finally. "Nope," Vincent agreed cheerfully. "Mrs. Fletcher is the biggest gossip in 3 counties. She sees through everything. But she's also kind-hearted and won't make trouble. Probably everyone in town will know by tomorrow that I've got a woman staying at my ranch who's definitely not my cousin." "Does that bother you?" Anna asked. "What people will think." Vincent reached over and took her hand. "Not even a little bit. Let them talk. I know what's true between us, and that's all that matters." Anna squeezed his hand, grateful for his steadiness. She didn't know what she'd done to deserve someone like Vincent in her life, but she thanked whoever or whatever had led her to that trail where he'd found her. The rest of August passed in a golden haze of work and stolen moments of affection. Anna grew stronger and more confident, fully settled into ranch life now. She could handle the horses as well as Vincent, could shoot a rifle straight when coyotes threatened the chickens, could cook a decent meal and mend clothes, and do all the 100 small tasks that made a ranch run smoothly. In the evenings, they'd sit on the porch and talk about everything and nothing. Vincent told her stories about growing up on the ranch, about the war, about his dreams for expanding the herd and maybe one day buying the adjacent property if it ever came up for sale. Anna talked about her thoughts and feelings even if she couldn't talk about her past, and Vincent listened like every word was important. One night in early September, as they sat watching the stars come out, Vincent took her hand and held it in both of his. "Anna," he said seriously, "I know we haven't known each other long, only a few months, and I know your situation is complicated, but I need you to know something. I love you, completely and absolutely, and I want you to stay here with me, not as someone I'm helping out, but as my wife." Anna's breath caught in her throat. "Vincent, are you proposing?" "Not yet," he said. "Not until you're ready. I know you might still be hoping your memory comes back, might still be wondering about your old life, and that's all right. I'm not asking you to decide right now. I'm just telling you what I want, what I'm hoping for. When and if you're ready, when you feel like you can commit to this life with me, that's when I'll ask properly." Tears spilled down Anna's cheeks. "I love you too," she said. "So much. And I want that too, Vincent. I want to be your wife. I want to build a life with you here." "But," Vincent said gently, hearing the hesitation in her voice. "But what if I'm already married?" Anna said, voicing the fear that had been lurking in the back of her mind for months. "What if I have a husband somewhere looking for me? I can't marry you if I'm already someone else's wife." If you were married, you'd be wearing a ring, Vincent pointed out. There was no ring on your finger when I found you, no sign there had ever been one. That doesn't mean anything for certain, Anna said. Maybe it fell off. Maybe whoever hurt me took it. Vincent was quiet for a moment, thinking. All right. How about this? We'll make some inquiries, see if anyone matching your description has been reported missing. We'll check with the sheriff's office, maybe put an advertisement in some newspapers. If no one comes forward claiming you, if there's no evidence of a husband or family looking for you, then will you feel better about accepting my proposal when I make it? Anna considered this. It seemed like a reasonable compromise. Yes, she said. Yes, I think that would help. Then that's what we'll do, Vincent said, and pulled her close. I don't want you carrying this worry around anymore. We'll do our due diligence, make sure we're not overlooking something, and then we'll move forward with clear consciences. The next time they went into Willits, they stopped at the sheriff's office. The sheriff, a grizzled man named Tom Briggs, listened to their story with interest. So you're saying you can't remember anything at all about who you were before July? He asked Anna. Nothing, Anna confirmed. I woke up in a ravine with a head injury, and everything before that is just blank. Sheriff Briggs leaned back in his chair, thinking. I haven't heard of any missing women matching your description, but that doesn't mean much. If you're from out of state, or even just from a different county, word might not have reached us. I can send some telegrams to other counties and states, see if anyone's looking for you. What name did you go by before you lost your memory? We don't know, Vincent said. We've been calling her Anna Simmons, but that's just a name we picked. Makes it harder to search then, Sheriff Briggs said. But I'll do what I can. Give me a few weeks to hear back from some inquiries. They thanked him and left, both feeling like they'd done something concrete to address the uncertainty hanging over them. Vincent put advertisements in newspapers in several major California cities, and even a few in neighboring states, carefully worded to request information about missing women matching Anna's description without revealing too much. Then they waited. Weeks passed with no response to the advertisements and no word from Sheriff Briggs. Anna found herself torn between relief and frustration. Part of her wanted to know who she'd been, wanted that piece of her identity back. But another part of her was afraid that finding out would ruin the happiness she'd found with Vincent. Harvest time came, and they were both too busy to worry much about the past. They gathered vegetables from the garden, preserved food for winter, made sure the cattle were healthy and the ranch was ready for the cooler weather ahead. Anna threw herself into the work, finding satisfaction in the physical labor and in the knowledge that she was contributing to their future. Their future. Somewhere along the way, she'd started thinking of it that way. Not Vincent's future or her future, but theirs. Together, in early October, Sheriff Briggs sent word that he'd heard back from his inquiries. Vincent and Anna rode into town immediately, both nervous about what he might have learned. I got responses from 8 different counties and 3 different states, Sheriff Briggs told them. None of them have any reports of missing women matching your description. Now, that's not conclusive proof that no one's looking for you, but it's a pretty good indication that if someone is, they haven't reported it to the authorities. So what does that mean? Anna asked. Means a few possibilities, Sheriff Briggs said. Could be you were traveling alone when you got hurt, and there's no one to miss you. Could be whoever hurt you didn't want to draw attention by reporting you missing. Could be your family, if you have one, thinks you're somewhere else entirely and doesn't know to look for you here. Or it could mean I didn't have anyone, Anna said quietly. Maybe I was alone in the world before Vincent found me. That's possible too, Sheriff Briggs acknowledged. The advertisements in the newspapers haven't turned up anything either. Nothing, Vincent confirmed. Sheriff Briggs nodded. Well, I'll keep the inquiries open, but I'll be honest with you. The more time passes without anyone coming forward, the less likely it is that anyone will. After 4 months, if someone was actively looking for you, they probably would have found you by now, or at least made enough noise that we'd have heard about it. They left the sheriff's office with mixed feelings. On one hand, it seemed increasingly likely that Anna had no husband or family searching for her. On the other hand, it was sad to think that she might have been so alone in the world that no one even noticed she was gone. Maybe that's why I was on that trail in the first place, Anna said as they rode home. Maybe I was trying to start a new life somewhere, and that's when I got hurt. Maybe, Vincent said. Or maybe you were running from something bad. We might never know, Anna. We have to make peace with that possibility. I think I have, Anna said, surprising herself with the realization. I mean, I'd still like to know who I was. I'd like to remember my parents if I had them, or any siblings or friends. But as for my life now, my life with you, I don't have any doubts about that anymore. I don't need to know my past to know what I want for my future. Vincent pulled his horse to a stop, and Anna did the same. He reached over and cupped her face in his hand, looking at her with so much love it made her heart ache. Are you sure? He asked. I don't want you to feel rushed or pressured. I'm sure, Anna said firmly. I love you, Vincent. I want to marry you. I want to spend my life with you on that ranch, building something together. Vincent broke into the biggest smile she'd ever seen on his face. Right there, on horseback on the trail between Willits and home, he asked, Anna Simmons, or whatever your name might have been before, will you marry me and be my wife? Yes, Anna said, laughing and crying at the same time. Yes, absolutely yes. He leaned over dangerously in his saddle to kiss her, and they both almost fell off their horses, which made them laugh even harder. By the time they got back to the ranch, they were giddy with happiness and plans. They decided to get married as soon as possible. There was no point in waiting, and neither of them wanted to. Vincent arranged for the pastor from the church in Willits to come out to the ranch, and Anna made herself a simple wedding dress from fabric they bought at the general store. It wasn't fancy, but she didn't care. She was marrying the man she loved, and that was all that mattered. On a cool October morning with golden leaves falling from the oak trees and the California sky a brilliant blue overhead, Anna and Vincent were married. The ceremony was simple, just the two of them and the pastor and 2 neighbors who served as witnesses. Anna wore her new dress and wildflowers in her hair. Vincent wore his best shirt and looked more handsome than she'd ever seen him. When the pastor pronounced them husband and wife, Vincent kissed her like she was the most precious thing in the world, and Anna felt complete in a way she hadn't since waking up in that ravine. Whatever her past had held, this was her present and her future. Vincent Erikson was her husband, and she was his wife, and nothing else mattered. They celebrated with a simple meal, and then the neighbors and pastor left, giving them privacy. As the sun set and darkness fell, Vincent took Anna's hand and led her to the bedroom that would now be theirs together. I love you, Mrs. Erikson, he said softly. I love you too, Anna replied. My husband. The words felt right, felt true, felt like coming home even though she couldn't remember any other home. Vincent was her home now. This ranch, this life, this man. All of it was hers, and she was going to cherish every moment of it. Their wedding night was tender and sweet, a slow exploration of each other that left them both breathless and clinging to one another. Afterward, as they lay tangled together in the darkness, Vincent traced idle patterns on her bare shoulder. Happy? He asked. Incredibly, Anna said. I know I should probably feel guilty for being this happy when I don't even know who I really am, but I can't seem to manage it. Is that terrible? It's not terrible at all, Vincent assured her. You deserve happiness, Anna. Whatever happened before, whatever your story was, you deserve to be happy now. She snuggled closer to him. I am happy. Happier than I can ever remember being, which I know is a strange thing to say given that I can only remember the last 4 months, but still. Thank you for finding me. Thank you for helping me. Thank you for loving me. Thank you for letting me, Vincent replied and kissed the top of her head. Fall deepened into early winter, and Anna settled into married life with an ease that suggested maybe she'd been married before, or maybe it was just that everything felt natural with Vincent. They worked together during the day and fell into each other's arms at night, building a life and a love that grew stronger with each passing week. In November, Anna missed her monthly courses. She didn't think much of it at first, but when December came and went with no sign of them, she began to suspect what might be happening. She waited to say anything to Vincent, wanting to be sure, but by January she couldn't deny it anymore. "Vincent," she said one evening as they sat by the fire, "I think I'm pregnant." He nearly dropped the piece of wood he'd been about to add to the fire. "You think, or you know?" "I'm as sure as I can be without a doctor confirming it," Anna said. "I've missed my courses twice now, and I've been feeling sick in the mornings." Vincent set down the wood and came to sit beside her, taking both her hands in his. "How do you feel about it?" "Terrified," Anna admitted, "and thrilled, and worried. What if something goes wrong? What if I don't know how to be a mother?" "Then we'll learn together," Vincent said. "Just like we've learned everything else. And as for something going wrong, we'll get you to a doctor regularly and make sure you and the baby stay healthy." "You're happy about it?" Anna asked, needing to hear him say it. "Anna, I'm over the moon," Vincent said, his face breaking into a huge smile. "We're going to have a baby, a little person who's part you and part me. How could I not be happy about that?" Anna felt tears of relief and joy spilling down her cheeks. "I was so worried you'd think it was too soon, or that you'd be upset about having another mouth to feed." "Too soon? Anna, we're married and in love. There's no such thing as too soon for a baby. And as for another mouth to feed, this ranch can support a whole passel of children if that's what we're blessed with. A whole passel of children." The thought made Anna laugh through her tears. "Let's start with one and see how we do." "Fair enough," Vincent agreed and pulled her into his arms. They went into Willits the next week to see the doctor, who confirmed what Anna already knew. She was about 3 months along, which meant the baby would come in late June or early July. The doctor gave her instructions about what to eat and what to avoid, told her to get plenty of rest but also to stay active, and assured her that she looked healthy and strong and would likely have an easy time of it. As spring arrived and Anna's belly began to swell with the growing baby, she felt more connected to this life than ever. She was Vincent's wife. She was going to be a mother. She was part of something bigger than herself. Whatever her past had been, this was her present and her future, and she wouldn't trade it for anything. Vincent was absurdly attentive, constantly worrying about whether she was doing too much or needed anything. Anna found it both endearing and slightly annoying, especially when he tried to stop her from doing chores she was perfectly capable of handling. "I'm pregnant, not made of glass," she told him one day when he tried to take a basket of laundry from her. "Women have been having babies and doing work for thousands of years. I'm not going to break." "I know," Vincent said sheepishly. "I just worry." "I know you do," Anna said more gently. "And I love you for it, but you have to let me be useful. I'll go crazy if I have to sit around doing nothing for the next 3 months." They compromised, with Anna handling lighter chores and Vincent taking on anything too physically demanding. It worked well enough, though Anna sometimes had to remind Vincent that she was still perfectly capable of making decisions and taking care of herself. In May, as her due date drew closer, something unexpected happened. A woman arrived at the ranch, traveling by hired wagon from Willits. She was in her 50s, well-dressed, and had a kind but worried face. "I'm looking for Vincent Erikson," she said when Anna answered the door. "That's my husband," Anna said. "He's out in the barn. Can I help you with something?" The woman studied Anna's face intently, her eyes widening. "Oh, my Lord," she breathed. "It's really you. I'd almost given up hope." Anna felt her heart start to pound. "I'm sorry, do we know each other?" "You don't remember me, do you?" the woman said. "Sheriff Briggs warned me you'd lost your memory, but I was hoping that seeing me might help." "I'm Martha Hartley. I was your mother's closest friend, your Abigail Sarah Hartley, my goddaughter." The name meant nothing to Anna, sparked no memories, but she felt lightheaded anyway. After all these months of wondering, here was someone who knew who she'd been. "Please," she managed to say. "Come inside. I'll get my husband." Vincent came quickly when Anna called for him, and listened intently as Mrs. Hartley told them the story. Abigail Hartley had been the daughter of a prosperous rancher in Nevada. 6 months ago, her father had died suddenly, leaving her alone as her mother had passed years before. A distant cousin had shown up claiming to be the heir to the ranch, and when Abigail refused to leave, things had turned ugly. "There was a confrontation, Mrs. Hartley said, her voice tight with distress. "Your father's lawyer said you ran when the cousin threatened you. We found evidence that you'd taken a horse and headed west, but then the trail went cold. We searched for weeks, put up notices, contacted sheriffs all over California and Nevada. Nothing. It was like you'd vanished. Then last week, I happened to see one of the advertisements Vincent placed back in October. It was old news by then, but something about the description made me wonder. I contacted Sheriff Briggs and he told me about you, about your memory loss. I came as fast as I could." Anna, or Abigail as she apparently really was, felt overwhelmed. She had a past, a real past with a name and a history and people who'd cared about her. And yet it felt like a story about someone else. She couldn't remember any of it. "The ranch," Vincent said quietly. "Did her cousin get it?" "No," Mrs. Hartley said firmly. "I made sure of that. I got the lawyer to tie things up in legal knots until Abigail could be found. The ranch is still legally yours, dear. Everything your father built is still waiting for you." Anna looked at Vincent, saw the question in his eyes, and felt panic rising in her chest. Mrs. Hartley was offering her old life back, a life that apparently included a ranch and property and a whole history she couldn't remember. "I can't go back," Anna said, surprised by how certain she sounded. "I'm sorry, Mrs. Hartley, I truly am, and I'm grateful that you cared enough to keep looking for me. But this is my life now. I'm Anna Erikson. I'm married to Vincent and I'm carrying his child. I can't just abandon all of that to go back to a life I don't remember." Mrs. Hartley looked shocked. "But dear, it's your inheritance, your father's legacy. You can't just walk away from it." "Can I?" Anna said. "I don't remember my father. I don't remember that ranch or that life. I'm sorry, but it's the truth. And even if I could remember, I wouldn't leave Vincent. He's my husband and I love him." Vincent squeezed her hand, his own relief evident. "What about the property?" he asked Mrs. Hartley. "If Anna doesn't want to claim it, what happens?" "The cousin would likely get it eventually," Mrs. Hartley said reluctantly. "Unless Abigail, or Anna as you call yourself now, was willing to sell it. The lawyer could handle that, even in absentia." "Then let's do that," Anna decided. "Sell the ranch, sell everything. Use the money to settle any debts my father might have left, and if there's anything remaining, donate it to something worthwhile. A school or a church or something that would have made him happy." "Are you certain?" Mrs. Hartley asked. "This is a huge decision to make without even trying to remember." I've been trying to remember for almost a year, Anna said. It's not coming back, and even if it did, I don't think it would change how I feel. This is my home now. This is my family. Mrs. Hartley stayed for dinner, during which she told them more about Abigail's life. She'd been an only child, close to her parents, skilled with horses and bookkeeping. She'd been engaged once, but the man had died in a mining accident. She'd been 22 when her father died, 23 when she disappeared. You always were stubborn, Mrs. Hartley said with a sad smile. I suppose that hasn't changed even if you don't remember. Your father used to say you could outwork any man on the ranch and outthink most of them too. Anna, or Abigail, felt a pang of sadness for the father she couldn't remember, for the life that had been stolen from her. But she didn't regret her decision. This life with Vincent was real to her in a way that other life could never be. When Mrs. Hartley left the next day, promising to handle the legal matters in Nevada, Anna felt like a chapter had closed. She finally knew who she'd been, even if she couldn't remember being that person. Abigail Hartley had ceased to exist the day she woke up in that ravine. Anna Erikson had taken her place, and Anna had no intention of giving up the life she'd built. "Do you want me to call you Abigail?" Vincent asked later that night. "No," Anna said firmly. "Anna is who I am. Abigail is just a name for someone I used to be." "All right then, Anna," Vincent said and kissed her. "I love you. I love you too." In late June, as the summer heat settled over the California hills, Anna went into labor. Vincent rode like mad to fetch the doctor from Willits and the doctor's wife, who had experience as a midwife. The labor was long and difficult, lasting through the night and into the next day, but finally, on a hot afternoon with the windows open to catch any hint of breeze, Anna gave birth to a healthy baby boy. "He's perfect," Vincent said, his voice choked with emotion as he held his son for the first time. "Absolutely perfect." Anna, exhausted but happier than she'd ever been, watched her husband cradle their child. What should we name him? They'd discussed names but never settled on anything. Now, looking at the tiny face of their son, Vincent said, "How about Jacob? Jacob William Erikson, after my father." "Jacob," Anna repeated, testing how it sounded. "I like it. Jacob William Erikson it is." The first months of parenthood were exhausting and wonderful in equal measure. Jacob was a healthy baby with a good appetite and lungs that could wake the dead when he was displeased about something. Anna and Vincent took turns walking him at night, both of them bleary-eyed but content. Anna discovered she took to motherhood more easily than she'd feared. Some instinct guided her, helping her know when Jacob was hungry or tired or just needed to be held. Vincent was a natural father, gentle and patient with their son, and it made Anna fall even more deeply in love with him to see the tender way he handled the baby. As Jacob grew from infant to baby to toddler, the ranch prospered. The money from the sale of the Hartley Ranch in Nevada came through, and Anna insisted they use it to expand their own operation. They bought more cattle, hired a couple of ranch hands to help with the work, and purchased some of the adjacent land Vincent had always dreamed of owning. Life settled into a comfortable rhythm. Anna's memory never returned, and eventually she stopped expecting it to. She was Anna Erikson, Vincent's wife and Jacob's mother, and that was all the identity she needed. When Jacob was 2, Anna found herself pregnant again. This time she knew what to expect and wasn't nearly as worried. Their daughter was born in the spring of 1881, an easy birth that lasted only a few hours. They named her Sarah, after Anna's true last name, though only Vincent and Anna knew the significance of it. Sarah was as different from Jacob as night from day. Where Jacob had been loud and demanding, Sarah was quiet and observant. Where Jacob had been constantly in motion once he learned to crawl and walk, Sarah was content to sit and study whatever caught her interest. Vincent joked that they'd produced one child that was all him and one that was all Anna. The years rolled by in a pattern of seasons and celebrations, hardships and triumphs. Jacob grew tall and strong, showing an early aptitude for working with the horses just like his mother. Sarah turned out to have a gift for numbers and helped Anna keep the ranch's books from the time she was 8 years old. In 1885, when Jacob was 8 and Sarah was 4, Anna found herself pregnant once more. This time, she gave birth to twins, 2 boys they named Daniel and Matthew. The twins kept the whole family busy, and Anna was grateful for the ranch hands and for Jacob, who at 8 was already helpful in looking after his younger siblings. Vincent thrived as a father and husband, building the ranch into one of the most successful operations in the county. Anna worked alongside him, managing the household and helping with the business side of things, discovering she had a real talent for bookkeeping and finance, just as Mrs. Hartley had said Abigail once had. Sometimes, usually late at night when everyone else was asleep, Anna would think about the life she didn't remember. She'd wonder what Abigail Hartley would think of Anna Erikson, whether that younger woman would be happy with how things turned out. She liked to think the answer was yes. After all, she had a husband who loved her, healthy children, a successful ranch, and a community that accepted her. What more could anyone ask for? When Jacob turned 18 in 1896, a young man ready to take on more responsibility at the ranch, Anna and Vincent sat on the porch one evening watching the sunset just like they'd done countless times before over the years. "You ever regret it?" Anna asked, the same question she'd asked him nearly 2 decades earlier. Taking in that woman with no memory, Vincent laughed and pulled her close. "You asked me that same question about a month after I found you. The answer is still the same, not for a single second." "We've built a good life," Anna said contentedly. "We have," Vincent agreed. 4 children, a thriving ranch, almost 20 years together. I'd say we've done all right for ourselves." "More than all right," Anna said. She looked at her husband, his hair now streaked with gray, his face more lined but still as dear to her as it had been when she first fell in love with him. "You saved my life, Vincent, and then you gave me a new one better than anything I could have imagined." "You saved mine too," Vincent said softly. "I was just existing before you came along, going through the motions. You made me remember how to live, how to hope, how to dream. Everything good in my life came from finding you on that trail." They sat in comfortable silence as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink and purple. From inside the house, they could hear the sounds of their children, Sarah helping the twins with their schoolwork while Jacob worked on repairing a saddle. Anna thought about that day nearly 20 years ago when she'd woken up in a ravine with no memory and no identity. She'd been terrified then, lost and alone. She could never have imagined that the cowboy who found her would become the love of her life, that they'd build a family and a future together that was richer and fuller than any past she might have lost. She didn't know who Abigail Hartley had been meant to become. But she knew exactly who Anna Erikson was, and she was proud of that woman. She was a wife, a mother, a rancher, a partner in every sense of the word. She was someone who'd taken tragedy and loss and turned it into triumph and love. And as Vincent kissed her temple and pulled her closer, as the stars began to appear in the darkening sky and the sounds of home surrounded them, Anna knew she wouldn't change a single thing about the path her life had taken. Her past was gone, but her present was full, and her future stretched out bright and promising with the man who'd helped her write a brand new story, one infinitely better than anything she'd lost. In 1900, as the new century dawned, the Erikson Ranch was one of the most successful in Northern California. Jacob, now 22 and married to a sweet girl from Willits, was managing day-to-day operations. Sarah, at 19, was engaged to a young lawyer and helping manage the business affairs. The twins were 16 and causing the usual amount of teenage mischief, but fundamentally good boys who worked hard. Anna and Vincent, now in their mid-40s, had earned the right to slow down a bit and enjoy the fruits of their labor. They took more time for themselves, riding out to their favorite spots on the ranch, spending quiet evenings reading or talking, visiting with the grandchildren that Jacob and his wife had started producing. "I still can't believe we have grandchildren," Anna said one evening, watching Jacob's 2-year-old son toddle around the yard. "Makes us sound old," Vincent said with mock indignation. "We are old," Anna teased. "Well, older anyway." "Speak for yourself," Vincent said, and surprised her by sweeping her into his arms and spinning her around just like he'd done that day when they'd finished the barn roof all those years ago. Anna shrieked with laughter, holding on to him. "Vincent Erikson, put me down before you throw your back out." He set her down but kept his arms around her. "See, still got it." She kissed him long and sweet. "Yes, you do." That night, as they lay in bed, Anna reflected on how far they'd come. 22 years since that day Vincent found her. 22 years of building a life together, raising children, growing old together. It had been more than she dared to dream of, more than she thought possible. "What are you thinking about?" Vincent asked, sensing she was still awake. "Just how lucky I am," Anna said. "How lucky we are. We could have missed each other entirely. If you'd taken a different trail that day, if I'd woken up somewhere else, if any of 1,000 things had been different, we might never have found each other." "But we did," Vincent said simply. "And that's what matters. Not the what-ifs, but the what-is." "The what-is is pretty wonderful," Anna agreed. "That it is," Vincent said and pulled her close. As Anna drifted off to sleep in her husband's arms, surrounded by the evidence of the life they'd built together, she felt complete. The past might have been lost, but the present and future were hers, bright and full and overflowing with love. She'd woken up not knowing her name or her past, and a cowboy had helped her make a brand new story. And what a story it had been, full of love and family and triumph over adversity. She wouldn't trade it for all the memories in the world. Vincent's breathing evened out as he fell asleep, and Anna smiled in the darkness. This was home. This was love. This was everything. And as the moon rose over the California hills and shone through their window, casting silver light over the room where they'd shared so many nights, Anna closed her eyes and let herself drift into dreams, content in the knowledge that she was exactly where she was meant to be. The woman who'd had no name, no past, no identity had become Anna Erikson, and Anna Erikson had a life full of meaning and purpose and boundless love. Whatever Abigail Hartley might have been, Anna Erikson was everything she needed to be. And in the years that followed, as they grew old together and watched their children and grandchildren build their own lives, that truth remained constant. They had found each other when Anna had nothing, and together they'd built everything. On a warm summer evening in 1915, Vincent and Anna sat on their porch for the last time together. Vincent, now 68 and slowed by age and a lifetime of hard work, had been growing weaker, and they both knew his time was coming. Anna, at 62, sat beside him holding his hand, her hair silver but her eyes still bright. "It's been a good life," Vincent said softly. "The best," Anna agreed, tears streaming down her face even as she smiled. "You gave me everything, Vincent. A name, a home, a family, a purpose. Everything I am is because you found me that day." "No," Vincent said, squeezing her hand with what strength he had left. "You made yourself into who you are. I just got to be there to watch it happen. And Anna, being your husband, loving you, raising our family together, it's been the greatest honor and joy of my life." "I love you," Anna said. "I've loved you since that first moment, and I'll love you until my last breath and beyond." "I love you too," Vincent said. "My Anna, my heart." He died peacefully as the sun set, surrounded by his children and grandchildren, with Anna's hand in his. And though Anna's heart broke with his passing, she also felt grateful for every single day they'd had together, every moment of the life they'd shared. She lived for another 12 years after Vincent's death, staying active in the ranch management and spending time with her growing collection of grandchildren and great-grandchildren. She never remarried, never even considered it. Vincent had been her one true love, and that was enough to last a lifetime. When Anna Erikson died peacefully in her sleep in 1927 at the age of 74, she was laid to rest beside Vincent on a hill overlooking the ranch they'd built together. The epitaph on her gravestone, chosen by her children, reads simply, "Anna Erikson, beloved wife, mother, and grandmother, she made her own story. And what a story it had been.